Order, please turn off all cell phones or put them on vibrate. In lieu of an invocation tonight, we will have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tonight's Showcase Baltimore presenter is Brittany Young from B360 Baltimore.
Hello, I'm Brittany Young from B360. Our organization really focuses on a couple different things, which are how do we utilize dirt bike culture. So again, being from Baltimore, that's seen as our sport, but to many it's also seen as a nuisance. So our programming teaches students how to build, code, design, and 3D print model-sized dirt bikes. And in the summer, right now, we teach students how to build, repair, and engineer actual-sized dirt bikes. So far, we've hired 23 dirt bike riders who no longer ride in city streets. We work with over 5,000 students, and our main goal is how can we benefit the community, you all, and how can we grow this industry further. So we're looking for more support, of course, from city council and government, really around how do we de-stress each other. And so in this, which we won't get to at all, is more of the work that we've done, our partners, and for me specifically, I'm just looking for more help. So people often think that dirt bike riders don't look like me. I'm not a rider, but they look like students like me, so like Kamaya. She's becoming a 12-foot 3D printed dirt bike statue. Our students will teach people how to make the statue pieces, but more importantly, we want to get a better perception of how to own our culture in Baltimore, which is dirt bike riding, how to get more people out of cities and streets, but more importantly, how do you grow students, how do you grow a pipeline, how do you grow an ecosystem, and that means embracing what we do, but also making sure we don't just arrest and incarcerate people. So if nothing else, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Please look at your packets and ask us questions, and we really look forward to working with you all. And we have the same outcomes as the Dirt Bike Police Task Force, but we on the side of programming, and that's really our angle. So thank you.
Thank you. Good. Thank you. The clerk will call the roll of the members.
President Young, President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Sneed, Clark. Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Thank you. We will now proceed with the adoption of the journal.
Mr. President, the journals of the following proceedings are on the council member's desk. June 17th, 2019, June 24th, 2019, and July 22nd, 2019.
Without objection, the journals are adopted. Bills signed by the mayor. Bills signed by the mayor can be found on pages 2 and 3 of the agenda. Executive nominations.
EA 190244, Thomas K. M. Cudjoe, Member, Commission on Aging and Retirement Education, 7th District.
This has been assigned to the Executive Appointments Committee. Bills to be introduced.
City Council Bill 190423, zoning conditional use parking lot, a portion of 2700 Madison Avenue known as 3002 East Drive. For the purpose of permitting, subject to certain conditions, the establishment, maintenance, and operation of a parking lot on a portion of the property known as 2700 Madison Avenue, the portion being known as 3002 East Drive, as outlined in red on the accompanying plat. Sponsors, City Council President on behalf of the administration.
This has been assigned to the Land Use Committee.
City Council Bill 190424, Corrective Bill 2019 General, for the purpose of correcting various errors and omissions in the City Code, correcting, clarifying, and conforming certain inconsistent, superfluous, vague, and other unclear language, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, President Scott.
This has been assigned to the Judiciary Committee.
City Council Bill 190425, Corrective Bill 2019 Zoning, for the purpose of correcting various errors and omissions in the zoning code article, correcting, clarifying, and conforming certain inconsistent, superfluous, vague, and other unclear language, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, President Scott.
This has been assigned to the Land Use Committee.
City Council Bill 190426, rezoning, Block PSCO Lot 085, for the purpose of changing the zoning for the property known as Block PSCO Lot 085, as outlined in red on the accompanying plat from the I-2 zoning district to the R8 zoning district. Sponsor, Cohen.
This has been assigned to the Land Use Committee.
City Council Bill 190427, rezoning 1020 West Pratt Street, for the purpose of changing the zoning for the property known as 1020 West Pratt Street, Block 0251, Lot 032, as outlined in red on the accompanying plat from the R8 zoning district to the IMU1 zoning district. Sponsor, Bullock.
This has been assigned to the Land Use Committee.
City Council Bill 190428, human trafficking notice requirements, city-owned and occupied buildings, for the purpose of requiring city-owned and occupied buildings to place a notice regarding the human trafficking prevention hotline, certain locations, and conforming and clarifying related provisions. Sponsor, Burnett. President Scott, Cohen, McCrae, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Bullock, Costello, Clark.
This has been assigned to the Public Safety Committee. Chair recognizes.
Stokes and Reisinger.
Please add Councilman Stokes and Councilman Reisinger as co-sponsors. Chair recognizes Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. This bill is building off of legislation that we passed previously requiring that hotel bars, adult entertainment establishments, permitted construction sites post information on the human trafficking hotline so that potential victims can be easily assisted and know where to go for help. This is an expansion of that into city-owned buildings as well, so that wherever folks may be, if they need help and are being victimized through either labor trafficking or sex trafficking, that they can get out of that life and get some assistance. And so it's trying to build on things that we've already done through the Baltimore City Human Trafficking Collaborative. So thank you to all my co-sponsors. Appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you. Please add Councilwoman Sneed and Councilman Scheifler as co-sponsors. This bill has been assigned to the Public Safety Committee.
City Council Bill 190429, vacant structures, posting owner information, for the purpose of requiring that owners of certain vacant structures to conspicuously post on the exterior of the structure certain information regarding the ownership of the structure, requiring that the sign meet certain specifications, specifying when signs must be posted, dedicating a certain portion of the fine proceeds to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, conforming related provisions, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsors, Burnett, President Scott, Cohen, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Costello, Clark.
Please add Councilman Reisinger, Councilwoman Sneed as co-sponsors, Councilman Stokes as a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill, all of us spend a lot of time every summer dealing with concerns and complaints about high grass and weeds, illegal dumping, blighted properties, and we all know that it can be a rabbit hole to go down to figure out who owns these properties, how do we get in touch with them. And if it's frustrating for us, it absolutely has to be frustrating for the citizens of Baltimore to know who owns the property that's adding blight to their block, and how can they hold them accountable. So this is another way to provide direct communication with the owners so that they can be held accountable for the conditions that they've left behind in too many communities across Baltimore City. Again, thank you to my co-sponsors, and I appreciate the support.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman, for your leadership. This has been assigned to the Housing and Urban Affairs Committee.
City Council Bill 190430, repeal of Ordinance 16580, Northwood Commons Planned Unit Development, for the purpose of repealing Ordinance 16580, which designated certain properties as a business planned unit development known as Northwood Commons, and providing for a special effective date. Sponsor, Dorsey.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. This bill repeals a planned unit development that is no longer necessary in order for the development to go forward as intended. When this planned unit development was created, a section of the parcel that was then designated as open space was intended to be developed into a bank and a fast food restaurant, and the planned unit development was put in order to allow that to happen. And as a requirement of the planned unit development, there was also renderings of, I don't know what it was, a 6 or 7 story development on this site that went along with it. The plans have changed, so there'll be a single-story development, and so all of that rendering has to be repealed. And in the meantime, a map change occurred under transform so that those other sections of the parcel can be developed into a bank and fast food without the planned unit development. So this is to repeal it because it's unnecessary.
Thank you. This has been assigned to the Land Use Committee.
City Council Bill 190431, Towing, Licensing, and Regulation. For the purpose of consolidating the licensing and regulation of towing services in Baltimore City under one administrative body, defining certain terms, establishing the Board of Towing to regulate certain towing services in Baltimore City, requiring a license to perform certain towing services, specifying certain towing services that require additional certification, establishing certain standards of operation, prohibiting certain conduct, imposing certain penalties, allowing for licensure sanctions in certain situations, establishing a hearing process for licensure discipline, allowing for appeals in certain situations, and generally relating to the licensing and regulation of towing services in Baltimore City. Sponsors Dorsey, Cohen, Henry, Burnett, Bullock, Clark.
This has been assigned to the Public Safety Committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you again, Mr. Council President. If not for the corrective bill on zoning, this would have taken the cake for longest bill of the evening. There are a lot of things it touches on. I could stand here a long time and talk about a lot of different changes, big and small, but there are a couple that I just want to touch on. One, this just basically consolidates and modernizes our existing code and some of our practices. Right now there are two completely separate and almost identical sections of code in the city code related to towing. So this repeals both of them and puts them into one, so it's much easier for the average person to be able to look at the city's laws and understand what they are pertaining to towing. It has a strong consumer advocacy component to it in that one of the things that I've heard as a city council's representative on the trespass towing board for a long time has been that companies who are contracted to tow from police crash scenes in the city often arrive to those scenes only to find that somebody else who is not in any way licensed or regulated by the city of Baltimore has shown up and unlawfully taken that car. And so these businesses that we contract to do to perform a service to the city of Baltimore show up there. They take the time to send their staff there, and they spend they use gas to get there, and then they're never compensated in any way because the vehicle that they went there to tow has already been taken, again by a company that is not licensed to do that at all, and who very typically will turn around and charge that person or their insurance company $1,000 or more just to get their car back. So this bill, one of the significant components of this bill is that it creates licensure for all of those companies who are currently operating without any oversight in Baltimore City at all. One of the other modernizing kind of aspects of this bill is something that I consulted with the Budget Bureau about and the Finance Department about, where there are a lot of references in here to money, like a $100 annual licensing fee that was set as the rate many, many years ago and hasn't been increased to adjust for the consumer price index or anything like that. Over time, I think that we're going to see that these references to money in code are little by little taken out of these laws so that they can be updated by the Board of Estimates annually. So that's one of the things that changes in here. And then one of the other points I'd like to make is that this bill will allow for, or will help so that crash scenes are left cleaner than they very often are at present by requiring anybody who's towing from crash scenes to have a broom and a trash can and to leave the crash scene broom swept when they walk away from or when they drive away from the scene. I look forward to sitting down with each of my colleagues and going over the many questions that you all have about this bill. Thank you.
This has been assigned to the Public Safety Committee.
City Council Bill 190432, campaign signs in residential areas, repeal of earliest date requirement. For the purpose of repealing a prohibition on erecting campaign signs on residential property prior to a certain date and conforming and clarifying related provisions. Sponsors Schleifer, President Scott, Cohen, Dorsey, Henry, Burnett.
This has been assigned to the Housing and Urban Affairs Committee. Please recognize Councilman Reisinger as a co-sponsor. Resolutions to be introduced.
City Council Resolution 190158R, approval for the exchange of a Class BD7 license to a Class A7 license, 1503 to 05 Light Street. For the purpose of providing the required approval under Maryland Code Annotated Alcoholic Beverages, Section 19902.1C1, to allow the license holder a valid Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license issued for 1503 to 05 Light Street, Baltimore, Maryland 21230, to apply to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City to exchange their Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license for a Class A7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Sponsor Costello.
This has been assigned to the Housing and Urban Affairs Committee.
City Council Resolution 190159R, investigative hearing, building backups of untreated sewage. For the purpose of inviting representatives from the Department of Public Works, Law Department, Office of Information and Technology, Health Department, Mayor's Office of Emergency Management, to appear before the City Council to discuss the effectiveness and sufficiency of measures being taken to address basement backups of raw sewage in the city. Sponsors Burnett, President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Bullock, Costello, Clark.
Please add Councilman Reisinger as a co-sponsor, Councilwoman Snead as a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes as a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to the modified consent decree, DPW is supposed to offer a building backup expedited reimbursement program for homeowners to be reimbursed for damages associated with cleaning and disinfecting their properties from sewage backups. And we know this is a huge issue because just in 2018 alone, or 2017, between 2019, there were 7,422 backups reported to 311. And we have information showing that DPW received over 70 applications. But a lot of the anecdotal information I've received back is that of those folks who have applied, who know about the program, have had difficulty either being reimbursed at all or navigating the system at all, and ended up suffering or paying out a tremendous amount of money. So we want to look further into this issue, and I'm looking forward to a lot of dialogue. I know this is something that impacts all of our districts, especially with climate change. We see a lot more backups happening along waterways, and people should be reimbursed. They should be made whole for issues that have been identified as the cause of city disinvestment. So looking forward to a good hearing on that, and I'll work with the committee chair on scheduling. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been assigned to the Land Use Committee.
City Council Resolution 190160R, informational hearing, Solid Waste Enterprise Fund. For the purpose of inviting the Director of the Department of General Services, the Director of the Office of Sustainability, the Director of the Department of Public Works, the Department of Public Works' Bureau Head of Solid Waste, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Innovation, the Director of the Department of Planning, the Director of the Department of Finance, and the Department of Finance's Budget Director of the Bureau of the Budget and Management Research to discuss the potential benefits and challenges relating to the creation of a solid waste enterprise fund. Sponsors Snead, President Scott, Cohen, Dorsey, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Clark.
Please add Councilman Reisinger as a co-sponsor. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Snead.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, colleagues, for supporting this bill, this resolution. This basically gets everyone on the same page because clearly we have an issue with solid waste, and it's time that we have residents as well as city agency bureau heads talking about how we're going to resolve this issue. This is something that's not new. This is in our Change to Grow report. It's also in our 10-year plan, but this really could result in a city reduction of a property tax of 15 cents, and we want to make sure that we're reducing our property taxes in any way possible that will help our city. We also can have a better accounting of how much money we're spending and what we should be spending, and give accurate numbers to the residents, our taxpayers who are living here, and to our Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark. It will help with our Reach Our Zero Waste goal. So I hope you guys will support it. I look forward to the hearing where we can discuss these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. This has been assigned to the Budget and Appropriations Committee.
City Council Resolution 190161R, International Overdose Awareness Day. For the purpose of recognizing August 31st, 2019 is International Overdose Awareness Day. Sponsors Burnett, President Scott, Cohen, McCrae, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton, Pinkett, Bullock, Costello, Clark.
Please add Councilman Reisinger, Councilman Stokes, and Councilman Scheifler as co-sponsors. Chair recognizes Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I promise the last time I'm standing up today, at least for right now. I know you guys are tired of hearing from me. August 31st, 2019 is recognized as International Overdose Awareness Day. We know this is a huge issue in Baltimore. And just in 2018, there were 888 overdose deaths by Baltimore residents. And we know that over 25,000 suffer from addiction issues in Baltimore City. And it's important that, one, we recognize that this is a problem, but also support the goals and ideals to urge citizens to join in this day, to honor the folks that we've lost, to continue to advocate for more resources. I also want to encourage community members to visit www.don'tdie.org to be trained on how to administer naloxone. And we know that people are doing it because just since this program has been in place and we have a standing order from the health commissioner, Baltimoreans have administered over 4,000 naloxone administrations across the city, saving lives every day, and we want to recognize their part in this fight as well. And I would like to move to suspend Rule 12-1 to request immediate adoption of the resolution.
Without objection, the rule is suspended. All in favor of approving this resolution say aye. All opposed say nay. This resolution is adopted.
City Council Resolution 190162R, Informational Hearing, Baltimore's Fiscal Readiness for Kerwin. For the purpose of requesting the Director of the Baltimore City Department of Finance to brief the City Council on the city's fiscal readiness for any recommendations that the Kerwin Commission on Innovation and Excellence in Education may put forward to alter public school funding formulas for Baltimore City, and requesting the CEO of the Baltimore City Public School System to discuss the implications to city schools if the Kerwin Commission's recommendations are not passed, or if passed, are inadequate to ensure that Baltimore City Public Schools receive the state funding they deserve. President Scott, Cohen, McCrae, Dorsey, Henry, Middleton.
Please add Councilman Reisinger, Councilman Scheifler, Councilman Costello, Councilman Stokes, Councilman Bullock as co-sponsors. Thank you. Colleagues, as we know, the most important policy decision facing our state is that of the Kerwin Commission. And we know that the state probably is going to require Baltimore City and other jurisdictions to put forward more money for public education. And we also know that here in Baltimore, we have not been putting enough of our own local public dollars into public education. However, we can't afford to wait on the state to tell us what to do. And we can also understand that even in the event that Kerwin doesn't pass, or as it does pass, we need to be ready now. So what this resolution does is calls for the Finance Department to come in, tell us where we are, tell us how ready we are to increase our contribution to Baltimore City Public Schools, but also if Kerwin does not pass, what that will mean for our school, what that will mean for our children. We're going to ask the school CEO to come forward and tell us that as well. There is no greater asset to the city of Baltimore than that of our young people, and it's time that we get serious about their education and improving education in Baltimore. We can't just rely on the state. We have to do more, and we have to be prepared to do more because we know that we're going to be required to do more. There is no more important, no greater policy decision facing our young people and facing our city than that of Kerwin, so we have to be prepared for it. Thank you to all my colleagues for your co-sponsorship, and we look forward to a great hearing. Councilman Clark. Microphone. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Clark.
I just want to make sure I'm on it. I signed it earlier today, but maybe it didn't get recorded. I'm very much in support of it, and I want my name to be added to it, please, and all that we need to do to make make Kerwin happen. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We would not do it without you. Please note that Councilwoman Clark is a co-sponsor. This has been assigned to the Committee of the Whole. Councilwoman Snead is a co-sponsor. This has been assigned to the Committee of the Whole. Councilman Pinkett as a co-sponsor. Thank you. Consent calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we read short titles for the remainder of the hearing.
Second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of reading short titles for the remainder of the meeting say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Short titles for the remainder of the meeting. Consent calendar. You can find the consent calendar in Section A at the back of the agenda. Without objection, the consent calendar is approved. Committee reports. We will now remove to bills on second reader. Executive appointments.
EA 190242, Chichi Niaga Nash.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Stokes. Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee held a hearing on August the 14th. I move the nomination favorable.
All those in favor of approving this nomination say aye. All opposed say nay. The motion is, the motion is approved. Nomination is approved.
Okay, you have two.
EA 190243, Steve Sharkey.
Thank you,
Chair
Mr.
recognizes Councilman Stokes.
The committee held a hearing on August the 14th. I move the nomination favorable.
All those in favor of approving this nomination say aye. All opposed say nay. This nomination is approved. Budget and appropriations.
City Council Bill 190404, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Baltimore City Information and Technology Department, $10 million.
Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee held a hearing on July 31st. I move the bill favorably.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader. Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Show him the script.
Oh, I don't have the.
This one right now. Take it. Go
Okay. Mr. President, I move City Council Bill 19-0404 to be advanced to third reading on the same day.
Roll call.
President Scott,
Yes.
Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Snead, Clark.
The ayes have it, and this bill moves to third reader today.
City Council Bill 190405, General Fund Operating Appropriation Transfer in the aggregate amount of $4,260,000 from various agency services to the Department of Recreation and Parks, the Department of Transportation, and the Department of Planning.
Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee held a hearing on July 31st. I move the bill favorably.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader.
Same.
Thank you, Mr. President. For Council Bill 19-0405, I move that we move this bill to third reader on the same day.
Roll call.
President Scott,
Yes.
Councilmember Cohen, Councilmember McCray, Councilmember Dorsey, Councilmember Henry, Councilmember Schleifer, Councilmember Middleton, Councilmember Pinkett, Councilmember Burnett, Councilmember Bullock, Councilmember Reisinger, Councilmember Costello, Councilmember Stokes, Councilmember Snead, Councilmember Clark.
The ayes have it, and this bill moves to third reader today. Housing and Urban Affairs Committee.
City Council Bill 190398, Urban Renewal Poppleton Amendment.
Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee heard this bill on Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019. There are technical amendments on your desks. I move the amendments.
Without objection, second by Councilman Henry. All those in favor of approving the amendment say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The amendments are approved. Chair recognizes Councilman Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill favorable as amended.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. All opposed say nay. This motion is approved. The bill moves to third reader. Judiciary Committee.
City Council Bill 190411, City Property Renaming Fairmont Hartford Building to Lake Clifton Park Building.
Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Committee held a hearing on this bill on August 6th. I move the bill favorably.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. All opposed say nay. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader. Land Use and Transportation.
City Council Bill 190390, rezoning 1617 Broning Highway.
Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to move the finding of facts on this bill.
Without objection, the finding of fact will be adopted. The finding of fact are adopted. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the bill favorable.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Please note that Councilman Dorsey abstains. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
I move the bill favorable.
We did that, so I can just read the next bill.
Yeah.
City Council Bill 190397, repeal of Ordinance 03613, University of Maryland Biopark Planned Unit Development.
Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the bill favorable.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Please note that Councilman Costello abstains. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 190399, rezoning 755, 757, 759, 761, and 763 West Fayette Street, 760 West Baltimore Street, Block 0626, Lot 053, known as northwest corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and West Baltimore Street, and a portion of the former bed of West Fairmont Avenue.
Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the finding of facts.
Without objection, the findings of fact will be adopted. The finding of fact are adopted. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, there's technical amendments to this bill. I move the amendments.
All those in favor of approving the amendment say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Please note that Councilman Costello abstains. The amendments are adopted. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the bill favorable as amended.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion is approved. Please note that Councilman Costello abstains. This bill moves to third reader.
City Council Bill 190400, conditional use parking lot 301 East Lombard Street, also known as 300 East Pratt Street.
Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
I move the finding of facts.
Without objection, the findings of fact will be adopted. The finding of fact are adopted. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Mr. President, I move the bill favorable.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. All opposed say nay. Please note Councilman Dorsey as a no. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader. Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development. Chair, oh, go ahead.
City Council Bill 190319, sale of property, former bed of West Fairmont Avenue, a 10-foot alley, a portion of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and a portion of a 3-foot alley.
Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee held a hearing for this bill on July 25th, 2019. The sponsor, City Council President, on behalf of the administration. The committee approved the bill as favorable. I move the bill with a favorable report.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. All those in favor of approving this bill say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Please note that Councilman Costello abstained. The motion is approved. This bill moves to third reader.
And I
Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to clarify that my vote on Council Bill 19-0398, Urban Renewal Poppleton Amendment, was to recuse myself. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to move this bill to third reader.
Roll call.
President Scott,
Yes.
Councilmember Cohen, Councilmember McCray, Councilmember Dorsey,
319, sir.
Councilmember Henry, Councilmember Schleifer, Councilmember Middleton,
Yes?
Councilmember Pinkett, Councilmember Burnett, Councilmember Bullock, Councilmember Reisinger, Councilmember Costello, Councilmember Stokes, Councilmember Sneed, Councilmember Clark.
The ayes have it, and this bill moves to third reader today.
City Council Bill 190414, High Performance Newly Constructed Dwellings Property Tax Credit.
Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee held a hearing for this bill on July 25th, 2019. Sponsor, Councilman Eric Costello. The committee approved the bill as favorable with amendments. The amendments are on council members' desk. I move the amendments.
All those in favor of approving the amendment say aye. All opposed say nay. The amendments are adopted. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Middleton.
I move the bill favorable as amended.
All those in favor of approving this bill say aye. All opposed say nay. The motion is approved. Please note Councilman Dorsey as a no. This bill moves to third reader. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Middleton.
And I'd like to make a motion to move this bill to third reader.
Roll call.
President Scott,
Yes.
Councilmember Cohen, Councilmember McCray, Councilmember Dorsey, Councilmember Henry, Councilmember Schleifer, Councilmember Middleton,
Yes.
Councilmember Pinkett, Councilmember Burnett, Councilmember Bullock, Councilmember Reisinger, Councilmember Costello, Councilmember Stokes, Councilmember Sneed, Councilmember Clark.
The ayes have it, and this bill moves to third reader today. Special orders of the day. Without objection, we will suspend Rule 9-6 to refer the following bills to the Planning Commission.
City Council Bill 19-406, Franchise Cellco Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless. City Council Bill 19-407, Franchise New Singular Wireless PCS. City Council Bill 19-0411, City Property Renaming Fairmont Harford Building to Lake Clifton Park Building.
Third reader requiring the invocation of City Council Rule 12-1 for same-day advance from second reader to third reader.
City Council Bill 19-0319, Sale of Property, former bed of West Fairmont Avenue, a 10-foot alley, a portion of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and a portion of a 3-foot alley. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Councilmember Stokes, Sneed, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 19-0404, Supplementary General Fund Operating Appropriation, Baltimore City Information and Technology Department, $10 million. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Sneed, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 19-0405, General Fund Operating Appropriation Transfer in the aggregate amount of $4,260,000 from various agency services to the Department of Recreation and Parks, the Department of Transportation, and the Department of Planning. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Sneed, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 19-0414, High Performance Newly Constructed Dwellings Property Tax Credit. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Sneed, Clark.
Please note Councilman Dorsey says no. This bill is approved. Third reader for final passage.
City Council Bill 19-0340, RPP Area 18, Middle East South, adding 800 block of North Chester Street. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Sneed, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 19-0346, repeal of Ordinance 96-032, New Lexington Terrace, Planned Unit Development. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Sneed, Clark.
This bill is approved.
City Council Bill 19-0352, zoning conditional use conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to 2 dwelling units in the R7 zoning district, variances 645 McEwen Avenue. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Sneed, Clark. This bill
is approved.
City Council Bill 19-0376, financial disclosures, fixing filers, filing, and filings. President Scott, Cohen, McCray, Dorsey, Henry, Schleifer, Middleton, Pinkett, Burnett, Bullock, Reisinger, Costello, Stokes, Sneed, Clark.
This bill is approved. Committee announcements. Start on this side. Chair recognizes Councilman Councilman Bullock, sorry. Excuse me, he was laughing.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Housing and Urban Affairs Committee will be having a hearing for Bill number 19048 on Tuesday, August 27th at 2 p.m. in council chambers, and that is for amending the ordinance 15428 franchise Crown Castle Fiber LLC. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Sneed.
Thank you. We'll have a labor hearing on Thursday, September the 5th, for the fire department staffing and succession plan. We'll also do one on Thursday, September the 19th, both at 1 o'clock for the same thing, fire department staffing and succession plan.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Executive Appointments Committee will hold a hearing on Wednesday, September the 18th, 2019 at 10 a.m. for the Commission on Age and Retirement Education for Thomas K. Cujo. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. Biennial Audits Oversight Commission will have a hearing on Wednesday, September 25th at 5 p.m. in chambers. This will be televised. The commission will also meet on Wednesday, December 18th at 5 p.m. This will also be televised. Judiciary Committee will meet on Tuesday, September 3rd at 10 a.m. Council Bill 19-0337, Youth Athletic Protection at the request of Council President Scott. Judiciary Committee will meet on Tuesday, September 17th at 10 a.m. Council Bill 19-0403, Fair Election Fund Establishment and Administration at the request of Councilman Burnett. Judiciary Committee will meet on Tuesday, September 17th at 10:01 a.m. on Council Bill 19-0377, Whistleblower Rights and Responsibilities at the request of Councilman Dorsey. The Judiciary Committee will meet on Wednesday, October 16th at 5 p.m. This will be televised. This is Council Bill 17-0014R, Stormwater Remediation Fee Oversight Committee at the request of Councilman Costello. Colleagues, I would invite everyone to join us for that last hearing, even if you're not on the committee. I've been chairing the Stormwater Remediation Oversight Fee Committee for the last 2.5 years. The committee has finished its work and has recommendations for DPW that it would like to share with the council. This would be a great opportunity for all of us to get a refresher on the importance of the stormwater issues, so I hope that you can join us. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Health Committee is rescheduling the hearing for Council Bill 19-0410, the Baltimore City Trauma Responsive Care Act. The hearing was originally scheduled for Tuesday, August 27, 2019. The new hearing date is Thursday, September 5th, 2019, beginning at 5 p.m. here in Council Chambers. This hearing will be televised on cable TV channel 25.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Reisinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Land Use Committee will hold a hearing on Resolution 19-0156 on Wednesday, September the 25th at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. This is a informational hearing on water outages. This is your resolution, Mr. President. I just want to read out the purpose of inviting representatives from the Department of Public Works, Department of Housing and Community Development, Housing Authority of Baltimore City Public School System, the Department of Recreation and Parks, and the Baltimore City Health Department to discuss protocols in place for and best practices to provide assistance to Baltimore City residents in the event they lose access to water. The committee will also hold a hearing on Bill 19-0360 on Wednesday, October the 2nd, at 1 p.m. in the council chambers. This is zoning. It's a conditional use conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to a two-dwelling unit in the R7 zoning district with variances located at 1214 Bolton Street. The committee will also hold a hearing on Bill 19-0392 on Wednesday, October the 2nd at 1:05 p.m. in the council chambers. This is a zoning, also a conditional use conversion of a single-family dwelling unit to a two-dwelling units in the R8 zoning district with variances located at 2132 West Baltimore Street. The committee will hold a hearing on 19-0351 on October the 2nd at 1:10 p.m. in the council chambers. This is a rezoning at 3515 East Lombard Street. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Councilman Costello.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Wednesday, August 28th, Judiciary Committee will hold its first of two work session, first work session on Council Bill 19-0401, plastic bag ban. Thank you, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee will have their second work session for City Council Bill 180307, Thursday, September 26, 2019, 10 a.m. here in Council Chambers. And it's the second work session for the Water Accountability and Equity Act. The Taxation, Finance, and Economic Development Committee will have a hearing for Bill number 190320, Thursday, October 3rd, 2019, at 10 a.m. here in Council Chambers. And again, it's the Passenger for Hire Services Tax Corrective. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. The Transportation Committee will hold a series of 5 legislative oversight hearings throughout the rest of the year on various dates. August 28th, all at 3 p.m. here in the Council Chambers. On August 28th, a hearing on the Complete Streets Implementation and Department of Transportation's Comprehensive Transportation Plan. On September 11th, the Baltimore City Department of Transportation Operational and Staffing Challenges. September 25th, the Repaving Resurfacing Program and the Americans with Disabilities Act compliance. On October 23rd, on developing a shared vision for Baltimore City Department of Transportation and the Maryland Transit Administration. And on December 11th, a hearing on the Regional Transportation Plan. I had previously stated that I would be holding 6 hearings throughout the rest of the year, but am looking for an alternate date for the one I had planned for October 9th on traffic signals and street lighting, which falls on Yom Kippur.
Thank you, Councilman Dorsey, for your leadership on that issue. Chair recognizes Councilman Scheifler.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to announce a hearing for the Public Safety Committee on September 16th at 5 p.m. We will have a hearing on the gag order bill.
Thank you. Regular announcements. Chair recognizes Councilman Scheifler since you're standing already.
Yeah, while I'm standing. So there's a little mix-up about floor privilege. I want to know if I can extend floor privileges to a special guest. Can I get a second?
Second by Councilman Reisinger. All those in favor of giving floor privileges to Councilman Scheifler's guests say aye. Those opposed, nay. The floor is open. Chair recognizes Councilman Scheifler.
You guys can come up. So during the cyber attack, there was some communication disruption, so we never got the communication about honoring some great young men who received an award called We Are the Dream Award, and so they received that about a month or so ago, and so I wanted to recognize them. So first, I will recognize Jaquan Johnson. He's a First Tee student who was sent to Morgan State University on a full scholarship and now works for First Tee and volunteers his time helping his community in Park Heights. He also worked on the first golf camp in Park Heights. We're happy to partner with you guys on. And with him is Pastor Randall, who nominated him. He is the founder of The House, Inc., and whenever he calls on us to support something, we always work with him on and partner with him on that. And this summer, that was the golf camp, and so it was great to see youth from the district in the Park Heights community come out and learn to play golf for the first time. I enjoyed coming out and swinging some clubs also, and although Jaquan, actually got real golf lessons, I can still hit a golf ball further than him. So, but I would like to give either Pastor Randall or Jaquan the opportunity to say anything.
Well, thank you. Thank you, President, Vice President, and all councilmen and councilwomen here. We have been working very closely with our councilman here. He's being a little modest in what he does for us, but he has really opened the door to really help us. We are starting the first social settlement house for Baltimore City, which is in the Park Heights area in his district, and we are using it to do resource linkage in the community. And out of all of that, we clean alleys and we clean backyards and we do all of the grunt work that a lot of you may do. But when I came to him with the golf summer camp to teach 40 young people who have never picked up a golf club before to play golf, I thought he was going to throw me out of his office, but he didn't. He is an avid golfer, so it worked in my favor that he knew the everything that goes with playing golf. And when we were able to nominate Jaquan, Jaquan has really been instrumental with us in the community. He works for First Tee, but he ran the entire golf program. He single-handedly taught 40 children how to play golf. Yeah. He's been playing golf ever since he was 8 years old, and he brought that to Park Heights. And we thank him, and that's why we nominated him for his leadership and his perseverance in the community. And I want to thank you so much for helping us. We are building the first settlement house, and our councilman is behind us 100%. And we're looking forward to the day that we can invite all of you to the grand opening and the cutting of this resource center. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I'll read the proclamation real quick. Be it hereby known to all that my sincerest congratulations are offered to Jaquan Johnson in recognition of receiving We Are the Dream Award from the Baltimore City Youth Commission. Thank you for your hard work and dedication and for being a shining beacon of youth leadership in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and congratulations. Regular announcements. Councilman Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. On August the 24th at 12:30, the Oliver Pool that been closed for 10 years, it will be ribbon cutting at 12:30. And I don't know if you know John Murdoch, you know him, who coached Project Survival for the last 50 years. We will be naming that after John Murdoch, so everybody's invited. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I recognize Councilman Cohen, I want to first ask that Council Vice President Middleton honor a moment of silence for the now 217 individuals that we've lost to violence in Baltimore and their families, all those that we've lost to the opioid crisis as well. Also want to announce for those who listen, if they want to see their elected officials, and I hope that Councilman Scheifler is a better golfer than he is basketball player, but he will be joining me along with Councilwoman McCray, Councilman Pinkett, Councilman Burnett, Councilman Bullock on Sunday at 6 p.m. at Rita Church Rec Center as the Baltimore City elected officials and Baltimore County elected officials come together to play against the Montgomery County and Prince George's County elected officials for the name of charity. We will win, and we will win by a lot, but anyone that wants to come can come out and watch us destroy our colleagues from the South. Chair recognizes Councilman Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. President. This last weekend, you and I had an opportunity to attend the Moms Demand Action and Students Demand Action rally against gun violence. It was powerful, showing both of mothers and young people, primarily young people from Baltimore, who spoke about the impact that gun violence has had. Very few of us, probably none of us in this chamber, know a single person in the city who hasn't in some way been impacted by gun violence, and to hear it from moms and students standing together was incredibly powerful. Appreciated your speech as well. But just to say, this was a rallying call first for Congress, the Senate, Senator McConnell, who has repeatedly held up background checks but also to all of us to continue to stand up, stand with moms, stand with young people, and stand against the violence and the gun violence that has so devastated our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
Before you stand, I guess I have a couple of announcements as well. So on your desk, you have a flyer that I just received today, and there's going to be more information on it, and I'm sure a meeting will be set up with our council president as well. But it's called a Remote Area Medical Free Clinic. The acronym is RAM, and it's going to be a first-time ever event in Baltimore, maybe in the state of Maryland. So Aetna has picked up an idea from West Virginia that went well, and they're going to try it here this year, and if it is successful, they're going to continue this around, you know, the entire, each year they'll do another area of the city. But it's basically a free clinic for free dental, free vision, any free medical assistance of any sort. If there's someone that wants help with drug addiction, they're going to have this particular day, September 7th and 8th. This has been something in the works and planned for a few years now. There's been meetings with Dr. Santelises, and the agreement was to have it at Pimlico Elementary Middle School because of the make of the school and the proximity to a bus route and so on. They're going to try it here, and it's 2 days. It's free. Any health concern whatsoever will be held on September 7th and 8th. You'll be getting more information about this. This is a citywide event sponsored by Aetna. And then the second thing, I just want to thank everyone that attended the Maryland Association of Counties, MACO conference, this summer conference. It was the most attended conference ever, way over 3,000 attendees. As you know, I am first vice president. This time next year, I'll be president of the organization. The first time a person from Baltimore City will be holding that position since 1995. Also will be the first African American person from Baltimore City. So
Right.
That will take place, that installation will take place at the Winter Conference in December 4th, 5th, and 6th, and I definitely would like a large presence of Baltimore City. This is really going to be a time where this organization will highlight for a whole year Baltimore City. We're going to have a couple retreats will be here, and as you know, and I'm sure plenty of us know, when we go to Annapolis for hearings, and we hear a number of the rural counties talking about why is Baltimore City considered the economic engine of the state, and this will be our chance to highlight and prove that. So again, I thank those that did attend and attended some workshops and just participated, and wanted to make sure you were all highlighted in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. I want to add Toni Morrison to the list of moment of silence. Thank you. Chair recognizes Council Vice President Middleton.
The next meeting of the City Council will be held on Monday, September 9th, 2019 at 5 p.m. here in Council Chambers. May we have a moment of silence for Toni Morrison, the famous African-American writer. And also, may we have a moment of silence for the 217 homicides this year, and also the families that are suffering from the opioid epidemic.
Thank you. There being no further business, this concludes the 65th meeting of the 72nd term of the Baltimore City Council.